Guys, Chris Dick here. So in my last video, I showed you how to set up the Tasks app, and we added a few tasks. We added some nice views that compartmentalize things for us in a nice way. So this time, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a few rules to adding tasks into your task list. Now, this in particular is related to our projects in class. If you're following along in the videos and just learning how to use SharePoint in general, this may not apply to you, but let's dig in, okay? So if we look at what the SDLC is, the Software Development Lifecycle, a lot of people misunderstand how to apply the software development lifecycle, so I'm going to do a little bit of explanation here. We're going to be focused on these 5 steps, okay? In particular, when we look at how the life cycle functions, the start phase of a project is the requirements phase. We then move into design. We then, after design, we move to development. After development, we move into testing, and then we release our product. And then hopefully our client asks us to do this again. We go into the next phase. All right. This would be the best part for every developer, that we keep our jobs and everything goes great. So in this case, what we're going to be working on is deliverables for a project. All right. Now, in many of the projects that we have in our course, we have multiple deliverables. In other words, one person has to deliver this thing, another person has to deliver something else. The key is that each of the parts of the project have a certain life cycle that they have to go through in order to get to be complete. Okay, some will be completed before others. Others may need to be completed so that something else can move forward. Okay, so what we have here is these 4 tasks, and they're not particularly relational to what we're trying to do right now. So we're going to move into we're going to just simply delete these tasks because they're really not important anymore. So we're just going to delete them. A little bit of a painful process here. In this case, there is a quicker way to delete this, but I figured I'd show you how to delete it a few times. So we'll go through that, delete that. Okay, excellent. Now the other thing that I'm going to be showing you is how to use this timeline feature. This timeline feature is awesome. It's such a great feature for visualizing your project. So what we're going to be working on is we're going to pretend that we have a high-level task, something that is a deliverable. Let's imagine our project is to develop an API, okay? Now, our API in particular, okay, is a summary level task, okay? At this point, it doesn't have any specific dates to adhere to, but we can apply some dates to it, and I'm going to explain that to you in a moment. Now, the start date, let's say that we are going to start this project today, okay? Now, based on our semester system, let's say that we want to finish our project at the very end of our semester. And I'm going to say this is going to be due on the 4th of December. Okay. It's a summary level task, so it doesn't have anybody assigned to it. It can have start and end dates, but it doesn't necessarily. It's generally the completion and start is dictated by the things that are subtasks underneath it, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. If you remember from our last video, we also had budgeted hours. You can apply budgeted hours to it. If you said that you're going to spend 40 hours on a task, then put in 40 hours here. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's wise to put in a description so that people do understand. So it says build, I'm going to say build an API to deliver data from the database. It's usually what APIs do. Okay. And I'm not going to put any budgeted hours into this. I generally don't do that with my summer level tasks, so I'm going to push save. Okay. So now we've got a task with a start date and an end date. All right. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add this to the timeline. Notice it fills the whole timeline. It assumes that our project starts here at September 7th and ends on December 4th. All right. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add a subtask. Okay, and you'll notice how it reconfigures this view. Okay, this is kind of a helpful view. It's called the Quick Edit view. If you go to the List tab, you'll see we've got a view, which is the one we had before, and a quick edit. So you can always select quick edit, and it'll go into this nice little Excel kind of grid pattern here. So let's say if we're applying the software development lifecycle, okay, I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to ask for the requirements phase, okay, all right, and I'm going to do the design phase next. Okay. Now just imagine this is the timing that it requires to do this API, this high level thing. Okay. So it doesn't this software development lifecycle doesn't apply to the entire project, but just this one thing. Okay. And overall, whoops, I pushed the button there. Don't want to do that. Let's go back over to our thing. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so what I was saying though is that the API, okay, follows its own set of rules for release. Okay, if there's one person in particular working on this part of the project, it's important to know that when certain things happen, because they're going to go through a cycle of asking the client some questions, okay, and that is requirements. What is the requirements that this API should do? Okay. The next phase, they're going to go into designing this. So now that they know enough about the project, they're now starting to design it. So where things sit, how the database works with it, where the the actual API sits. Is it in an Azure or a site, or is it hosted somewhere else? The development phase says that now that I know everything about requirements and designing and where it's going to go, I can just start developing it. Okay, actually implementing the code. All right. Once I've completed that, I can move it into the testing phase. All right. Once all that development is complete, and you may start doing testing in between, but in this case, we're just going to assume that we go from one stage to another. And generally, in the real world, you'll see it's a bit of a blend. Okay, after your testing, you should be ready for a release phase. In other words, you should be ready for a presentation of some sort. Okay, and this is a really important phase because it's the time when you can say you are officially complete. Okay, now some of the things that we're going to do right now is I'm going to set some times or dates, I should say, to these phases. In our case, in class, our requirements phase actually started sometime in July. So I'm going to say it started on July 6th, maybe within a week of that. But it's going to be ending. One thing I do know is that it's going to be ending on the 22nd. Okay. That means that because based on when these things occur, the design phase is going to start on the 22nd. Okay. And it runs for roughly 3 weeks in this case. So let's say 22nd, that's 1 to the 29th, 2, and 3. Okay. So that brings us to October 13th. Okay. Our development phase is going to start on October 13th. All right. And then it's going to end just around December. So we've got about 6 to 8 weeks of development here. All right. So I'm going to say that we are going to end on let's give us a little bit more time here. On the 24th is when I'm going to end our development phase. Okay. Our testing, just like we're following these rules here, testing will start on the 24th. And we're only going to be doing about a week of testing. We don't have a lot of time testing when we're doing school courses, but we do our best here, right? Okay, so 24th is where it started, so we're going to go 1 week of testing. And your testing might go for a few more weeks into the release phase, but that's okay for this point. Well, we don't have to be too specific as long as we're communicating what things are happening. All right. Now our release phase will happen on or around December 1st between these dates. Okay, 1st to the 8th. Okay. And if you're done early, wonderful, you're done. Okay, now, the one reason why we wanted to have these the tasks with dates is because in order to add them to the timeline, we have to have dates so that they show up properly. So let's do this. We're going to add this to the timeline. Okay, and you'll notice that it went out a little out of sync there. Okay, so we're gonna just make sure that we have this selected here. Okay, I'm gonna go add to timeline. We're gonna add this to the timeline. This is development. See how nicely it's kind of flowing in now. Okay, really, really nice. Look at that. Okay, excellent. Now notice our date here. Actually, this date actually is actually something. It's a little bit skewed. So our API, it appears that the date actually started on July 6th. So let's see what happens to it here. We'll click July 6th. Okay. Good. All right. Notice that it reconfigures itself. Okay. Now, something, oops, looks like we got a little problem with our date here. Let's see what we've got. We have somehow date came in as tomorrow. I don't know how for the date for release came in as tomorrow, so we don't want to do that. It was supposed to be the 8th. I think that'll fix it. And let's see. What do we have? That's the 1st. Is weird. Let's just refresh here, see if it fixes the timeline. Yes, it did. Something went a little bit skewed with the timeline. Okay. Now, so that's one project or one deliverable set up in our task list. Okay. What if we have two? Okay, this is where things get a little bit more tricky. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the timeline. Okay, let's just close that. Okay, select it. Notice how it's got this little selection border around it. We're going to add another timeline bar. Okay, this is a really neat feature here. I love this, in fact. Now, what you're going to do is, let's just call it deliverable number 2. Deliverable 2. Whoops. Deliverable. Oh, I'm going to spell it right? Okay, can't make mistakes like that. Okay, now, deliverable number 2. Now, because this thing is specifically related to its own set of rules, okay, we might say that requirements may have started last month, okay, and once again, they're going to go to the 22nd, okay. Okay, and notice that it didn't indent. So what I'm gonna be doing here is I'm gonna make this that way. Okay, so we've got a little bit more organization. Okay, we do the same thing with our phases again. Development. Oops, gotta spell it right again, right? Development. Testing. See how easy it is to put things in. And this one is release, not requirements. Okay. So now, our deliverable 2 We don't want it to go into this timeline, okay? This is important to recognize. We want to select this timeline here. This is a new one. So we click on that and click Add to Timeline, okay? Our requirements, as I mentioned, we started on August 10th. It's going to end on, oops, actually, you know what? I made the wrong date here. Let's say that this one's got a little different date, all right? It's not the end of the semester, but let's say it's Friday the 6th, okay? And our requirements, we wanted that to end on the 22nd. Our design starts on the 22nd, but this time we're only going to go for about a week, okay? So it ends on there on the 29th. Our development will start on the 29th. Development is going to take 3 weeks this time, okay? So from the 29th, we have 1, 2, 3. Testing, we're going to still keep with our general timelines of testing of a week, okay? So that would start on October 20th, and we are going to continue there. It's going to have a very fast release cycle. We'll give a final presentation to our client, and that would be the release. So somewhere within this date, we're going to do something. Okay, and let's see, November 27th. And I'm already over my dates here, so I'm going to say this one. All right. Notice here I made this error, and I'm just gonna make an adjustment here. We won't get too specific. Okay, good. All right, so now we're going to add our timelines. Okay, and again, this kind of just makes it a nice graphical way of demonstrating when things are going to be taking place. I think I see where I went wrong here. So see, this is the great thing about having the visualization, because I didn't even notice that. So it was the October 27th, and I didn't want it to go right into December. So I'm going to do that right there. Okay, and it didn't update, but that's as simple as refreshing here. Okay, so we've got two projects that are set up really nicely in this, all right? And it's important to see how these things are reflecting on each other, okay? The visualization gives you an idea of when things are happening. Somehow I've still gotten my dates wrong here. I don't know what I did wrong here. So let's select this again. Maybe one of you will write in the comments and say what I did wrong. So there we go. Okay. Did that work? There we go. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now we're going to now just add a few more things, and then we're going to finish this video. But what we've got here is two projects, two deliverables that are in the same overall project. All right, we've got some really nice visuals of when things are happening. But look at this cool feature here. This is awesome. So in our Gantt chart, we also have a Gantt view, which is very useful as well, and it has its purposes. So at a high level, it's great because it does show you when things are transpiring. I like the timeline view for this for the general stuff, but you may find this the Gantt view very helpful in looking at things over a longer span of time. Okay, things that are more granular. Maybe there's finer points that are happening and you need a little bit more detail. Okay. Now, let's just take a look at a few other things that we're going to add here. I'm going to add a subtask to requirements. Okay. And in this case, I'm going to build a requirements document. Okay. The requirements document, we're going to stay within the boundaries of July 6th to September 22nd. Okay. I'm going to say that I'm going to start this this document. I'm going to start this on the 6th. Okay. I'm going to say that it's going to take me until the 16th. All right. I'm going to assign that to me. All right. And I'm going to say that I will spend 20 hours on that. Okay. So over that span of time, I'll put in 20 hours related to this one task. Okay. Now, there may be other tasks that you want to ensure are done prior to that, so that you should probably, investigate what is an API, where does the database sit? All these weird little questions that you may have for your client, but they're things that are important at this phase. Okay. Um, All right. Now you'll notice that I'm not adding this to the timeline because it's not important. This is all high level stuff. Okay. This is just high level stuff. This is getting granular. This is things that are happening, um, at the lower level, and it's not important to your client. It's more important to you. Okay. So let's stop editing this list here. So now we have a little different view. All right. Okay. Now, I think for what we need to do in this case, we're pretty good. We've got all the basics of adding tasks, adding timelines. All right. The next video that I'm going to do is to show you how to add these features into Microsoft Project, so you can do some integration with Project. It's a pretty neat thing. And then we'll move into exporting to Excel and doing some reporting on the information here. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and have a nice day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.